In Chapter 16 of our textbook, titled Hip Hop AM Maine Rappin' on the Time Hip Hop Culture as a Local Construct in Two European Cities, Andy Bennett discusses the globalization and glocalization of hip hop culture, examining arguments of hip hop being exclusively African American as a local culture or as global music culture for all youth. Bennett discusses the contesting schools of thought by hip hop theorists that, quote, some theorists maintain that the authenticity of hip hop remains firmly rooted in its origins and continuing significance as an African American street culture, while some hip hop theorists, especially in recent times, are suggesting instead that hip hop is culturally mobile, that the definition of hip hop culture and its attendant notions of authenticity are constantly being remade, as hip hop is appropriated by different groups of young people in cities and regions around the world. Bennett examines these arguments through his studies of two European cities, Frankfurt, Germany, and Newcastle, England, but also notes the hip hop communities formed in France, Italy, New Zealand, Sweden, and Japan, and their varying forms of hip hop and various levels of perceived authenticity. Much like these other countries, his claims can be examined in the case of hip hop in Korea. The Korean hip hop, aka K hip hop or K rap genre, emerged in the late 1980s and has since grown into its own globally popular genre as hip hop elements such as rap and sampling have extended to mainstream and internationally successful K pop groups. As Bennett examines in his essay, a significant school of thought in the hip hop community considers it as a solely local culture and a solely African American culture. As he states, according to one school of thought, the significance of hip hop as a cultural form orientates exclusively around its dialogue with the experience of African American youth. Therefore, by this argument, hip hop scenes in white dominated localities like Frankfurt, as Bennett studies, or, in the case of Korea, in Asian dominated localities, aren't considered authentic hip hop scenes. These arguments, however, tend to neglect the influence of Puerto Ricans and other brown cultures on hip hop origins. Additionally, as in the case of Frankfurt and also Korea, global hip hop scenes were still born out of African American influences. Korean hip hop first emerged through two main outlets: American GIs and the 1988 Seoul Olympics. During this Olympics, families and communities returned to Korea from America, bringing back their knowledge of Black music genres like R&B, soul, and of course, hip hop. But even more influential than the global spread of music for the K-hip hop scene was the spread of dance. The Itaewon neighborhood of Seoul resided near the U.S. military base in Yongsan, and Americans frequented the Itaewon clubs, which catered their music to American tastes. Here, Koreans were exposed to the dance culture of hip hop, and its popularity exploded into a new era of music for Korea. As Bennett states, Black culture becomes global culture in its styles, musics, and images, crossing with a range of different national and regional sensibilities throughout the world and initiating a plurality of responses. This is the case with Korean hip hop as a genre. Since its emergence, K hip hop has also developed its own style, norms, and trends. Hip hop practices like sampling, rapping, street style fashion, and lyrics criticizing the government or the system remain true in the K hip hop scene. But K hip hop artists have developed new styles of rap, new flows, and new methods to adapt hip hop to the Korean language and culture. In other words, K hip hop stems from American hip hop, but has also become its own local genre. Much like American hip hop, underprivileged groups in Korea, mainly those from poor communities and poor families, use K hip hop to express themselves and give themselves a voice. Rap artist August D even talks about his struggle with depression and other mental illnesses in his track, The Last. This supports Bennett's argument of glocalization, that though hip hop is inherently local in its creation and inherently born from black and brown communities, it has become a globally spread genre, one that youth from all over the world have used to express their grievances and speak out against injustice. It has become a means and a culture that gives underprivileged groups of all races a voice, where previously they had none, whether that be the black kids growing up in the Bronx or the farmers' kids from Daegu, Korea.